Hi, greetings, it's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and this is video number 14 in my marketing series of videos. If you haven't watched the other videos, you might want to go back and check out the other videos in this series, or check out my other awesome video series that I have for you here, my YouTube station. So, this 14th video in my marketing series talks about pricing concepts for establishing value. And so I'm going to go over a lot of concepts, and I'm going to try to do it as quickly as possible. Let's face it, price matters. And if you want to have your own business, or if you are running a business, you might actually consider, how you price things and some different types of options that other very successful companies use in order to make sure that they stay competitive. Some companies, really big companies like Procter & Gamble, for instance, recognize that there is a price that you will pay for their products and a price that's too much to pay. And people are always evaluating price with benefits and perceived value for their favorite laundry detergent. And whenever something goes out of their price range, it makes people take a look at the competition. This product to see if it's worth it and what it's priced at. So pricing truly does matter. There are 5 C's in pricing. There's competition, costs, company objectives, customers, and then channel members. And in this video we're going to talk about how each of those 5 concepts affect pricing. With company objectives, the first C, you have to really consider being profit-oriented, sales-oriented, competitor-oriented, or customer-oriented. And an example of being profit-oriented is making sure that you have some kind of policy that sets what percentage of profit in order to meet your company goals for each of your products. Maybe it's only 18%. So being sales-oriented has to do with setting prices very low to generate new sales and take sales away from competitors, even at a smaller profit margin. Being competitor-oriented refers to discouraging more competitors from entering the market by having very low prices that are set. And then customer-oriented really is a target market segment of consumers who highly value a particular product benefit and set prices relatively high, referred to as premium pricing. So with profit orientation, that means essentially you have an eye on target profit pricing, maximizing profits, and then target return pricing. So let's talk about sales orientation first of all. So with sales orientation, you can have a focus on increasing sales. You can have more concern overall market share, or you need to be aware of how setting low prices can affect your market share. So if you want to be a leader in a market, you might want to have a concentration on having lower prices. With a competitor orientation, you have competitive parity, status quo pricing, and value really is not a part of that pricing strategy. And this is a pretty common strategy for smaller companies, and it helps people really understand how more about your products. So you really have to be aware of how much your competitors' products are priced at, and then make sure that you are setting an equal price to this, which will also help establish a sense of quality. So with a customer orientation, the focus really is on customer expectations, and you could match prices to meet your customers' expectations. One of my favorite examples is one of my favorite companies, Costco. And Costco is known for having very low warehouse pricing. And Costco, for instance, can get the same exact diamonds that you'd find at Tiffany's. But if you go to Tiffany's, those diamonds will be priced for the same grade considerably higher. So why would somebody, knowing that Costco has it priced lower, buy a product from Tiffany's? Well, it's all about perception, of course. Sometimes you have to teach your customers about your products, and you've got to do things to catch their attention. So you might, if you had a product for, maybe it's a car rental for $10, you might have, because Zipcar does that, you might have an ad with a picture of a car or a pizza. And so for the same price, what would you rather spend your money on? And so that might be a good example of how to really help people understand the value of your product or service. Number 2, customers. So with customers, you really have to be aware of quantity and demand. And it's kind of a complex topic, but basically the more demand for your product, the higher your price can go. It's kind of, we see it happen all the time when people start buying a product over and over and over again. The producer of that product, or whoever's marketing the product, tends to raise the price to try to maximize profits. And they could kind of use, track their sales to find out when they start losing sales, so that they can bring the price down to the right price to maximize revenues and maximize profits. So that's something to be aware of. And so we use demand curves for pricing, and it really is about being very aware about how things are priced as it relates to demand. For example, I like to drink a smoothie shake every morning, and I buy whatever's on sale. I'm not loyal to any particular brand. But when I see something that goes on sale, maybe it's $2 a drink and they're regularly $3.50 a drink, so I'd be saving like $1.50 on each bottle, I'll buy a lot of them. But when they go back up to that $3.50, I won't buy any of them. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in that boat. So I'm letting my grocery store know that I've got a price that I'm willing to pay for this product, and it's going to rot on your shelves if you raise the price any higher than that. And so that's exactly what happens in every kind of market arena, is people will avoid products that they perceive as being too expensive. And so you have to be aware, as a manufacturer or as a retailer or a product manufacturer, whatever, business owner, what people are willing to pay. You want to make sure you are in alignment with people's expectations. So price elasticity and demand is an economic term that you have to consider. And so things that you may be selling have an elastic price, which is people are sensitive to price in the case that I was mentioning, and inelastic price, which means people are willing to pay anything for that product, essentially. And then consumers are less sensitive to price increases for necessities. And so there are products that are good examples of those types of things, like milk, for instance. Most people will consume milk as much as possible. And when the price goes too high, they'll probably consume a little less milk, but they'll still be consuming milk. Same thing goes with meats. I like to buy specific meat products when they're on sale. But when they go up too high, I'll let them sit and rot in the cases. You may be on a budget, and you may be particular to a particular type of shampoo. But if that price of shampoo goes up, becomes more expensive, chances are you're going to be looking for a different brand of shampoo. So things like this happen all the time. There's like cross price elasticity, where you may produce like a printer for a computer and you can sell it as a great price, and you do it because you know that your ink cartridges, you're the only one that makes those ink cartridges, and those ink cartridges are going to be significantly higher in price, and so you make your profit on the ink cartridges. The third C has to do with cost, and there are variable costs which vary with production volume, fixed costs which are unaffected by production volume, and then total costs. That's the sum of variable and fixed costs. So you have to be able to make a profit or you're not going to be in business, right? So with that, you have to do a break-even analysis and make the right decision to be able to understand what it costs to manufacture that product and bring it to market, and then where that break-even point is for different quantities sold. And so once you can identify where your losses are at, then you can target a price to help make sure that you're maximizing the quantity that you sell with your revenues and profit. So you figure break-even analysis by dividing fixed costs by contribution per unit. Total variable costs are figured by variable costs times the quantity. Total cost is fixed cost plus total variable costs, and then total revenue is price times quantity. So those are some basic formulas that will help you figure out, pricing. Competition is the other big one that you have to consider. You may be a monopoly, which means that you control the whole market. You could be in an oligopoly. And that means there's a handful of firms that control the market. Or you may be in a monopolistic comp, which is like electrical providers, for instance, or pure competition. In many firms selling commodities where price is set by that market. So you also have to be aware of the fifth C, channel members, and these are manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers that can have different perspectives on pricing strategies. The manufacturers must protect against gray market transactions. So everyday low pricing versus high low pricing, and my favorite examples are like TJ Maxx and Nordstrom's, for instance. So Nordstrom's is known for having high quality products at very high prices, but they have their semi-annual sale, which brings their prices very low. You can buy very similar products by going to TJ Maxx, and so you have to make the decision, what are you going to do if you have to buy a new outfit for a party, for instance. So you have to find ways to create value in different ways. Everyday low pricing saves people from searching and finding the lowest overall costs. High-low provides the thrill of the chase for the lowest price. So it really is kind of up to each consumer. So new product pricing strategies need to consider market penetration and price skimming. Think about products that might have price skimming versus penetration pricing. What quality should a product possess to use price skimming strategies? Godiva, the chocolate company, for instance, had a hot chocolate mix at a price point that was double the cost of other cocos. How really was it able to achieve this product? With their product. Well, you think about the perception of quality. That must be really good hot cocoa, right? So there are some legal aspects that you have to consider too. Deceptive or illegal price advertising, predatory pricing, price fixing, and price discrimination. And there are different laws for each state, and so you have to be aware of what each of these are for your state, and you have to be aware of federal pricing. So you can't be deceptive with prices. You can have loss leader pricing, but you can't do bait and switch. So being aware of when things are really on sale really matters. And once you trick a consumer, you ruin their trust. So with predatory pricing, you're setting prices so low that your intent will kill off a competitor. That's illegal. But it may be difficult to prove that you've done this. I think about Walmart, how Walmarts have gone into lots of small towns, and because their pricing is significantly cheaper than what a family-owned business could provide in many cases, those family-owned businesses have gone out of business, for instance. So can that mom and pop store prove that it was predatory pricing? That's hard to say. So it's pretty hard to take on a big giant like Walmart, I suspect. So with price discrimination, it's not always illegal. It really depends, and there are different rules in business to business and business consumer markets. So the federal law does not apply to sales to end consumers. So if you are given a discount based on quantity discounts to meet the competition, you probably are doing just fine. So you have to be aware of how you price things, because it really does matter. If you want to establish your business, recognize where your competitors are priced, and recognize what people will perceive as value, and come up with a pricing concept that meets the best needs for your company. Look around and see what your competitors are doing. Ask your customers what they prefer, and really be aware of how when you raise the different prices, how it affects the volume of your product or services. All right, I've given you a lot to think about. I hope there was something in here that you have found of value. I truly value your time, and more than anything else, I hope that you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr.